Hey, what's up? It's GW coming to you live. First of all, I know that I have been a little bit absent, and that's because, as one of my friends put it, work stuff, life stuff has happened. However, I told you guys I'd come back, and I did. Couple things I want to touch on before I get into this video. Um, Glad the snow's gone. I'm glad we don't have no more snow and ice. That's awesome. Uh, Second thing is, you may or may not have seen in the news that Marilyn Manson has got himself into some deep trouble. I read his book. The cat is weird. I know he had a breakup with Trent Reznor and all this and that. But in case you guys missed it, you have women coming forward saying that Marilyn Manson has emotionally, sexually abused them and kept women in cages. I don't know what to think, guys. I just know that the latest article I read said that basically this girl, who was a longtime companion of Marilyn Manson's, is now talking to the FBI. So we're just going to see how this plays out. I used to like his early stuff, but I've tuned out quite a bit. I've gotten into the rap, hip hop, angle a little bit more. So Marilyn Manson, I got put on the side burner. However, I am a longtime Nine Inch Nails fan. That's thanks to my man Josh Klaus way back in the day. But I know you guys don't want to hear about that. So anyway, I dug into the Blu-rays and I pulled out one of my favorites from 1980, which I'm going to share with you. All right, guys. The film is from 1983 and it's directed by Joseph Sargent, who did The Taking of Pelham 123 in the 70s, and White Lightning, which is a film I've never seen, but apparently it's pretty cool. So, anyway, this small little horror gem is called Nightmares, and it is a quartet, four stories that are for the most part, pretty entertaining. There is one story, the last story, Night of the Rat, it kind of falls apart, and we're going to go on to that in just a little bit. But it takes the first story takes the axe wielding maniac on the loose, a girl going to get cigarettes angle, and it really does it pretty good. The story is pretty brief, and Christina Rains, who was in the movie The Sentinel, guys, if you guys remember that film, is in it, and it's pretty good. It sets the atmosphere. And when you pop this DVD or this Blu-ray in, you really don't know what the first story is like. And this is the first time, guys, that I have sat down and watched every story on here. The reason being is because the second story up is my favorite, and I will watch that over and over again. I don't care how cheesy, goofy, overacted, or whatever people say. I love the second story, but I'm going to get there in just a second. So anyway, the Maniac on the Loose story is done very well. And there's a morality thing that happens at the end. The chick goes out for cigarettes. And if you guys watch it, watch what happens at the very end of that story, what she does with the cigarettes. Apparently, crossing the paths with a homicidal maniac make you think about your health. That's all I'm going to say. Now let's move on to the second story in here, which I think should have been its own movie. It should have been a feature-length thing, and it could have fit in the, late 80s, early 90s horror films if it was done, but it was never done, guys. And I'm talking about a story called The Bishop of Battle. Now, what makes this story noteworthy is because Emilio Estevez is in it. Yes, this was before Young Guns and before Mighty Ducks. Emilio Estevez was just the skinny kid on the block, newbie acting. And the story is pretty cool. Basically, Estevez plays a cat named J.J. Cooney, who is a hotshot arcade machine player. He can master anything. He also hustles people, and it makes for a good story. However, there is a machine in this story, and the story is named after it, called the Bishop of Battle, guys. Now, the Bishop of Battle is a legendary machine that has 13 levels. Okay? Now, in the story, on the Blu-ray, you hear about a level 13 being reached twice. Well, Emilio Estevez's character, J.J. Cooney, reaches that. And what transpires is probably some of the 80s best technology to date. And I'm talking back in the days, guys, of pixelated enemies. Nothing CGI. So don't get your hopes up. Like I said, this movie was made in 83. And it was pretty decent. If you've played the game Tron or Discs of Tron at the arcade, those are the type of graphics that the enemies of Bishop of Battle are made of. The end of the story is a little twist. So I'm just going to leave you to it. And I love the story to death. Like I said, I will defend it to the day I die. You can probably find it on YouTube if you're interested. Now, the third story is called The Benediction. And it is a pretty cool third entry in the story, and I think it's one of the strongest. I think all three of those could have been their own movie. They could have stopped at this story, but this story is about Lance Henriksen, who is a priest who loses his faith, and you see flashbacks of why he lost his faith. And then he is going to go to the desert, through the desert, to sort of go through in his mind and recollect. And what he uncovers in the desert, guys, is he uncovers a truck that may or may not be driven and sent from hell. And the thing is that this story, if you guys ever seen the Twilight Zone story, the man or the thing from 30,000 feet, this is the equivalent of that on the desert. So you have Lance Henriksen, who's chased by a demonic, satanic, black pickup truck. And it's a pretty decent story, and like I said, it has a pretty cool twist ending, just like, Nightmare at 30,000 Feet that I just mentioned. And the third story is called Night of the Rat, and I do appreciate what they're trying to do, and I dig some of it is actually pretty good, but there is some really bad special effects in here, guys. The one bright moment in it is Veronica Cartwright, who was in Aliens, guys. I forget her name. It's been a long time, but you can look her up. Veronica Cartwright is in there. You can recognize her. You'll be like, oh, that's that chick from Aliens opposite Sigourney Weaver. And Richard Mauser. Richard Mauser has been in a lot of movies, guys. He's been in License to Drive as Corey Haim's character's dad in the film. He's been in Disney's Mr. Boogedy and Disney's Bride of Boogedy. If you guys remember that, I remember those. I was 6 years old watching those films. And they were campy. They were great. The story's about a dead Puritan. You guys can check it on Disney Plus if you'd like. Anyway, their daughter... Oh, he was on The Thing too, guys. The remake of The Thing with John Carpenter, who did that with Kurt Russell. He was on there. That's where his probably best performance is. I liked his performance in this, but I liked everybody's performance in the film. But Richard Mauser plays the role of a dad who wants to do it himself, who wants to get rid of this rodent problem by himself, and becomes a little bit psycho about it. The story, though, it starts off strong. Starts out on a dark, stormy night. You see, the window to their garage busted open, and you kind of get the sense of dread. And as the story progresses, this is the only story that I kind of actually grabbed my cat and gave him a hug, because there is a cat that gets killed in this, but it's not a real cat, guys. I checked. I watched the credits, and, they didn't let no animals get hurt, as always. But the rat in the picture is not depicted till the very end of the picture, And it's considered, in the story you find out, it's a demonic rat. Cannot be killed. The bad CGI comes in about maybe 5-6 minutes before the end of the story or the end of the movie. And it could have been done a lot better. It could have been, I don't know, it could have been, well done. But overall, the three stories the three stories in the beginning are awesome. The last story, like I said, it kind of buckles. And the thing with this movie is it's not real known. I mean, it just, it's one of those obscure gems that's a sleeper hit. It probably did its best stuff on Blu-ray and DVD. I remember I had a copy. Somebody gave it to me, bought it at a yard sale. It had Nightmares, this film, and a movie called Extro and Extro 2, which are some of the weirdest sci-fi movies you guys can ever watch in your life. And I'm telling you, check them out. They're British alien films, and you won't be able to figure them out because they are just crazy. So Nightmares, actually, Shout Factory has just put this out not too long ago. Definitely check it out. And it does have, like I said, the extras are, you get the wide frame and sidebar versions if you want to replicate the theater. You have audio commentary with producer Andrew Missers and actress Christina Rains. Christina Rains, like I said, guys, is the chick in the first film, and she's pretty cool. And that there. So now I want to talk to you about one more film that you could probably find on YouTube, but I watched it. It's called The Dorm That Dripped Blood, and I suggest anybody who likes Friday the 13th should check this out. All right, guys. The Dorm That Dripped Blood is your classic college slasher film, and it was actually released, let me see, in 1981. Right, probably after Friday the 13th 2, if I'm not mistaken, in that same timeline. So what this film is about, you ask? Well, it's about a group of college kids who are going to fix up a dormitory. They're going to clean it out because it's going to be condemned. So they have to take all the furniture, they have to take inventory and this and that. Well, in the process of that, student Joanne Murray and her closest friends volunteer to help tear down a building, unaware of the psychopathic lunatic that roams and starts picking them off one by one with a barbed wire baseball bat. And for those Hitman fans out there, they probably knew you guys would watch because he uses fiber wire to Garrett or garrote, however you say that word. When they wrap around the throat, pull it tight. So, there's a couple things about this film. It was originally called Death Dorm, and they changed the name of it to The Dorm That Dripped Blood because they figured it would sound better and they would get more people to come see it in the theater, and it was just a more attractive, more horrific sounding name. Now, one of the things that I didn't know going into this is that Daphne Zuninga, who played on that cult favorite horror film, The Initiation, she's in here. And don't look for her to last long, guys, because her death is probably one of the most brutal in cinema history for the 80s at that time. Not only her, but her parents get wiped out in the same scene, and it's pretty wicked. In fact, her dad in the film, when he gets killed, it's probably one of the bloodiest barbed wire or spiked baseball bat beatings you could ever see, and it was pretty good. I mean, pretty good, well done, special effect wise. Now, the thing about this Blu-ray is that it is supposed to be the uncensored director's cut. Now, I have never seen the R-rated cut, but going by this, if they were as nitpicky in Friday the 13th as they were in Friday the 13th, then some of this gore would end up on the cutting room floor. Now, the one thing about this movie is you really don't know who's doing the killing till the end of the film, which I thought was pretty good because I played, okay, who is it going to be this time? Because in all these horror movies, you got one person that's the least likely to do it. This film, you have to wait. Now, this film is short. It's only about 88 minutes long. So, if they censored it, I don't know how much it could be. Probably 79 minutes and some change, I would think. So, anyway, it stars, in order, Laura Lipinski, Stephen Sachs, David Snow, Pamela Holland, Dennis Ellie, and Woody Roll, and Daphne Zuninga, who doesn't last very long. The one thing I liked about this film is the ending. Some horror movies, killer gets shot, the victim gets away, it's good. This one flips the script because the ending lets you decide your own ending. And they leave you sort of perplexed as to what happened at the end of the film. If you haven't seen it, definitely go on Amazon and get that or check it out on YouTube. The other thing I can say about this film is that it surprised me. It really did. And it kept my attention. Some of these horror movies, you just sit around, you could like do 50 million things in your living room while they're going on. You're like, okay, and he's going to die, he's going to die, he's going to die. This one kind of kept your attention because you really didn't know which direction it was going to go. So definitely check it out. Another alternate title for this film was called Prank Day. So you can check that out. And there is one kill in here that reminded me of My Bloody Valentine, where a girl gets put into a giant cooking appliance, a giant boiler or something. And on My Bloody Valentine, I can remember the same thing. Killer holding his face down. They cut that scene all to crap. So I wonder if that's one of the scenes. The other thing I liked about this film is it borrowed off The Mutilator in the sense that at the end of the film, the killer, who is eager and happy about what he did, likes to show off his kills. That must have been the thing in the 80s and early 80s cinema. Killer kills everybody. He's like, look what I did. I did it all for you. And you're going, yeah, that must be a thing. You know what I mean? Because that must have been one of those tropes, they call them in the 80s. So if you haven't seen them and you're looking for something to watch, definitely check those out. Keep an eye on the Marilyn Manson news story because, as like I said, that develops. It's getting nuts. Also, guys, I was at Walmart, our local Walmart here. And I got to tell you, I'm just going to do a rant real quick. I am sick and tired of them moving things on me, okay? I go to Giant Eagle. I got the bread where the water used to be, okay? I got the kidney beans so low that you got to shrink to Lego size to find them. You know what I mean? And I'm going to tell you something else. I don't like when you ask a girl a question, one of them stock people, and you go, hey, do you know where this is? And they give you an attitude like you're supposed to know where it is. And they keep moving things to the point where it's becoming absurd. So my point is if you guys, stop moving stuff. Just leave stuff where it is so that we can find it. And I'm not mad at the stock people. I'm mad at the big corporations. Because the big corporations tell people to do that, and they do it. One other thing I want to touch on real quick is that I was at the local Walmart, and I try to, do movie reviews for you guys, and I try to do, some of the newer stuff, and I like the older stuff better, but I'm going to try to review Wrong Turn that just come out. They redid it, guys, if you didn't know. I'm going to redo that one. So I'm going to try to review that one tomorrow for you. But I got to tell you, this pandemic sucks. And I've said it time and time again because you don't get to have a normal life anymore. You know what I mean? You got to balance like everything on the tightrope, and it's crazy. And I don't get it. And I'm trying, guys. And I don't want anybody out there thinking that I'm just going to one day hit the stop button and not tell you guys about movies, because that's stupid. I'm not going to do that. You know, so, but I'm going to try to review that Wrong Turn for you guys tomorrow. And my personal favorites this year, just in case you guys were wondering, have been Uncut Gems. That's a pretty awesome flick. The Irishman. I love that movie. And I watched the recut of The Godfather 3, and you know what? I liked it a little bit better than the regular version. But The Irishman, to me, is probably the best movie I have seen on Blu-ray this year. But tomorrow we'll do Wrong Turn. And also, if you're looking for something really gory, if you guys haven't seen it, check out Random Acts of Violence on it's on Shudder. It should be on there. It's directed by Jay Baruchel. It's a pretty wicked, twisted romp. It again is only it's only 88 minutes long. It's a short one, but it's pretty gory, pretty grisly. I dug it, and it is available on Blu-ray right now. So check it out. GW. We'll come back with Wrong Turn tomorrow.